Welcome, everybody, to the craziest draft we've seen in a long-ass time. This is Chiefs Focus First and 10. You're here with JP, Caleb, and Keaton. What's up, guys?
I'm doing good, man. Crazy night. I'm tired because of it. My energy just went up and down because of all the crazy moves I've seen.
Man, between doing spaces and watching that, I mean, I almost had a coronary a couple times, and I watched some of these guys are still on the board that should have been gone along. Okay, first of all, I cannot get over the fact that Malik is still on the board. When you had two teams that absolutely needed a quarterback, then he can definitely be a day one quarterback, and he's not with either one of those teams. I am blown out of the water.
It doesn't make any sense. And I thought Carolina was going to take him at 6 when they didn't trade back. They ended up getting Aquanu, who's our number one tackle in the draft, and we got the tackles completely correct in the order they were going to be taken. Something else was crazy. Nikobi Dean still on the list. He was a 19th ranked player, I think. And his teammate, Quay Walker, who was a better coverage linebacker than he was, which I guess teams value more than what he did, was drafted to the Packers. And so you still got a guy who was one of the best tacklers in the draft. He was an exceptional linebacker who would be a first-round draft pick in any other draft, I think. He's a little undersized, and I guess that's the only reason he didn't go. And you got Andrew Booth, Arnold Ebiketie.
I was dying for him. I really was. I was like, I must have said his name 10 times that I wanted him to be, I wanted us to pick him up. And, I mean, I'm not unhappy with who we got, but I really would have liked to grab him.
I agree. I think the pick we made sense. Made more sense than maybe a linebacker. But it's something to watch for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have pick 50, and we have the ammunition to move up to grab an Andrew Booth. How confident in this defense would you be if you had Andrew Booth, Trent McDuffie, and Karlaftis starting day one? I think it was leaps and bounds better than last year's defense.
Especially with Karlaftis, I'm happy because he can really help.
That dude looks like a Russian mobster.
He gets sacks. I mean, seriously, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Veach goes after another guy. I'm hoping Perion Winfrey's there in the second, third round tomorrow. That's another guy I think, Keaton, we have him in our top 50. That's another guy I think that Veach should go after.
Karlaftis looks like a Russian mobster. I don't care who you are. That dude looks dangerous.
Both of these guys look like such humble dudes. They both of their interviews were so well spoken. I thought both of them were really high quality people and players. And I have both of the draft profiles pulled up here. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing, I'll go McDuffie, and then I'll go Karlaftis after him real quick. McDuffie is 5'11", 193. He ran a 4.44, which is a good 40-yard dash. And I saw countless mock drafts that had him in the top 15. So he has that potential. And one thing, he didn't put up a lot of interceptions, which is what a lot of people look for. But I want you to remind you guys, he led FBS in yards per attempt given up. So he had, I think it was like 3-point-something yards given up per pass thrown at him. He led college football in that category, which is amazing.
That's not bad.
And he gave up less than 100. I think I saw somewhere that he only gave up 1,100 or 110 yards this season.
Hold on, he only gave up 110?
Yeah, that's insane.
That's insane.
And his player comp was Jair Alexander. I can see that easily because he was a guy, or both him and Jair Alexander were guys that didn't put up huge numbers in college. And I don't know what we have going on with Washington corners, but it's the second one we've taken in the first round the last couple of years.
Yeah, the first was Marcus Peters back in 15.
Yeah, and then for George Karlaftis, he was a guy who didn't sack the quarterback a lot his last senior year. He only had 5 sacks, did get a lot of pressures. He was always around the quarterback, and I think he had one of the highest pressure rates in college football last year, which I think the stats are a big reason that teams passed on him. I think he was projected top 15 player. I saw countless mocks had him going to the Patriots or the Ravens in the top 15 picks. It didn't end up happening just because of the way the draft fell. But I think he landed in the perfect situation for him.
Yeah, it was. I think I was going to go back to Williams. He did drop a little bit, which I kind of figured he would. He didn't go as far down as I thought he would. And I think that was more of a, I don't know if that was more of a desperation move on that, who was it that drafted him? I can't even think. I'm so tired. Who drafted Jameson?
It was the
Um,
Lions
was
in
it
the run on
It's the
The
Lions.
Lions, yeah. And
the wide receiver.
I feel sorry for him that he went there. Because again, they're no matter how many people they bring in, they still have, Jared Goff, and the team's just never ever been able to explode no matter what. But at least, he got picked up and he will at some point be playing, and it's nice to see. I wish we would have got him, but again, in the first round for a player that I guess is kind of a what if at this point, I don't know that would have been a smart move. And I give this, I'm going to grade this as an A+ for Veach on day one picks. I'm sorry, but that was just he moves.
Hey, nothing to be sorry about. You're right.
Damn, dude, the guy moves in just the most mysterious ways, and he does it so quickly. Like I had guys on the spaces going, "What the hell, the Cows?" After the first 8 picks, they said, "What do you think the Cowboys are going to do?" I said, "Well, how the hell am I supposed to know? Have you seen what just happened? Who knows who's anybody's going to do?" You're never going to find out who's going to do what now because there's no rhyme or reason to how these picks came in, and it just threw me off. I don't remember a draft that was so weird. The way they were picked, and the people that were left on the board even throw me even more. I don't understand Willis being on the board. I don't understand a lot of them being left on the board. Is Booth? I think Booth is still on the
Booth-
board.
He's still there, and we thought the Chiefs would get him. Keaton and I were when we're doing
I
our
thought he
mock,
would
we thought he
too.
would be there.
Yeah,
Straight up candidate for tomorrow. I think the Chiefs have an opportunity to trade up and get him if they really like him. But I think the thing with McDuffie and Karlaftis is they were both juniors. They're both juniors right now, and I think that's by no coincidence. I think both of them, if they were to play the next year, would be top 15. They were both projected to be top 15. I think they'd both be top 10 picks if they were to play another year.
yeah, and it just gives us an advantage too because of their age, and it gives them so much more time to learn and not be. I know one of the players they didn't like, not the Chiefs, but in general they were kind of questioning because of his age. He was a couple years older than who was it? Caleb. There was somebody that was a couple of years older than everybody else in the draft, and
Was it?
in
I
the
know.
draft grade.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember the name.
I can't remember his name either right now, but and I understand that to a degree, but it gives us an advantage because these guys are younger, and it gives them more time to learn. It gives them more play time in their career, and I can't argue with anything that Veach did in this. It was inevitable he was going to jump up. There was no doubt. But what he gave up to do it was pennies to get who we got. We really gave up hardly anything to get for that move. So I'm happy with what we did. I think next, it makes it more exciting for tomorrow and even the next day because Veach is always those later round guys that loves to pick up, the hungry guys. And there's a lot of hungry guys, especially the guys that had the chips on their shoulder that were projected to go in the first round by everybody, including their camp. And then they didn't go, probably kicked a chip off their shoulders. And maybe they're going to be a little bit more hungry, going into this next 2 days. I think that's going to be very, very helpful for the Chiefs and other teams for that matter. But some of the picks that some of these teams made, like San Diego made a weird pick.
Yeah, they did. I laughed when they made that pick.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me. Guard doesn't scare me. We got 21-year-old studs who are going to be defensive stars for years to come. Exactly. They got a guard. We got better. They regressed. They didn't get the player at 17 who we would have gotten.
Exactly. Tomorrow is going to be very exciting, and
it will be.
What tomorrow? I can't remember what time it starts, but we're going to be doing.
I think it's 6.
I think it's 7.
Is it 7?
Look, I'm pretty sure it's 6.
It might be 6 because it's a longer one. It's always an hour earlier the second day, I thought, but
let me see.
Yeah, find out real quick.
Well, it is at 7. Okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
7 o'clock tomorrow.
It's just
This-
because
Are you?
I think that
It would start at. Okay,
Well,
shorter.
this says Eastern time.
so it must be 6.
Okay, no, you're right. It's 6 because it says
Yeah.
right. It's 8. 8 was today and 7's tomorrow. So it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, Eastern.
It'll be 6 o'clock and then it'll be 11 o'clock on Saturday. So we got a couple of long days ahead of us, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. I mean, this is just exciting. I mean, it's more exciting now than it has been, just given the fact that this is a crazy ass draft, and we've got so much to work with. I mean, just so much to work with. And don't be surprised if Veach doesn't make a trade outside of the draft to bring in a veteran. And when I say veteran, a couple years, a guy that's been in the league 2-3 years and has some stability behind him. I can see that happening. We still have, what do we got? 7 picks left.
Yeah, let me that down real quick. I was gonna tell you that the trade we gave up number 29 or a 94 and 121, which is a third and a fourth, and then the first move up 8 spots, which is really good value for moving up that many spots in the first round. That leaves us with pick 50 tomorrow, pick 92, pick 50, pick 62, pick 103. So we're gonna have 3 picks tomorrow. One was a compensatory pick, and then the other 2 are first round or second round picks. So we didn't give up any second round picks to move up in the first round, which I thought was outstanding by Beach because he knows that those first 2 rounds, those are the best players. Don't give up those picks but I did think other than maybe getting Jermaine Johnson, I think we got steals of the draft, but I would have liked to have Jermaine Johnson, but I am just as happy with Karlaftis.
Yeah. That guy there, he's watching his film, man, that dude, he doesn't care. That's the one thing about him. He does not care. He's a flat out beast. I mean, he was taking on 2-3 people and just ripping them down. He's quick. He's got fast feet. I like everything about him. I was very excited when we got him. And I actually, to be honest with you, I thought for some reason I had a feeling Dallas was going to end up with him. I don't know why, but I thought somehow Dallas is going to end up with this guy. I just had this weird feeling they were going to end up snagging him, and they didn't. And I was very happy that they didn't. So
I also had that.
what's that?
I shared that opinion. I thought Dallas was going to get them. They ended up taking a tackle, which I think makes more sense for them anyway. But I think the biggest surprises today were, number one was, some of the players taken, like the Patriots took a 3rd round projected guard, and then the Chargers took a guard. But I think what was more surprising was that Malik Willis was not the first quarterback taken, nor did he even go in the first round.
Yeah.
But the other thing
was only one.
Yeah, the other thing was the run on wide receiver started so early. I'm 100% would take our draft over getting Jameson Williams only in the first round for this reason. We're getting 2 projected day 1 starters.
Yeah.
Compared to a late ad during the middle of the season in a Jameson Williams.
Exactly.
And I guess I don't really know what happened. I think the Drake London pick triggered that because I don't think anyone projected him to be as high as he went. And I think that's what caused teams to start moving up to take these wide receivers early, because we've seen how the wide receiver market has commanded some of the most money we've seen spent on players. We saw A.J. Brown get traded, and he got $100 million tonight for a first.
4 years, 50 plus guaranteed.
I think wide receiver is becoming a more sought after position in the NFL that teams are willing to trade up multiple draft picks and get. And I know we got some hate for our mock draft. We had a couple wide receivers going early, and people were dissonant, saying that wasn't going to happen. Well, it did happen.
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah,
we got our 4 picks right, which I didn't see any other mock draft do. So I think we did a really good job with that, and especially with some of the trades not happening in the first.
You guys kicked the shit out of the draft. I mean, I'm going to give you that. I really respect what you guys did with that. It was strong, and I tweeted it out. I put it out on Twitter. I said we're 4 for 4.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So, I put Chiefs Focus 4 for 4 in the draft up to this point, and I think given the fact that we're in a position, we had a debate, if you want to call that, at the end of our spaces with some guy that I don't know who he is, never knew where he came from, but he was upset that we didn't pick a wide receiver in the first round, and he thinks that any wide receiver, I mean, I guess he thought Williams was going to be a day one starter when it's impossible for him to be, given the fact of his injury. But he was very upset that the fact, and if we don't get one, we're going to suck. I don't think he understands the game of football in any way. No, especially our system. When you cannot walk into our system and be a day one starter, not one wide receiver that we have drafted since 2013 has been a day one starter. I mean, let me put it this way: not a day one starter, but a number one wide receiver. That's not going to happen. You may have guys that come in and can play, and they may be able to contribute, but they are not wide receiver one. It's not going to happen. So for anybody to argue that point, and then to trash Josh Gordon, that has been phenomenal in his career, other than a few hiccups that he had, is kind of just beyond the scope of imagination. It was like comparing apples to oranges. You know, you can't expect anyone to come into this league in our offense, in our system, and be wide receiver one out of the draft. It's not going to happen, no matter who they are. You got to have experience to come in. And I mean, you got to learn our playbook. You got to learn our system. You got to learn how Mahomes throws. And the speed's totally different. The speed is completely different from college to the NFL. Everybody knows that. And then you're coming into a team that has a huge playbook, and Andy will pull something out of his butt in the middle of the night and call everybody and tell them you got to learn it by tomorrow. So it was just a kind of a dumb argument, to be honest with you. But we've proven time and time again that we can actually pick up players in any round, whether it be wide receiver, running back, O-line, defensive line, linebacker, CB, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, undrafted, and they've come out to be stars. It just takes time when it comes to skill positions in the offense. The defense is a little bit easier to grasp, especially when you're hungry and you're kind of crazy and you're ready to just go out there and blast everybody, but not in our offense. And I don't know if anybody that understands the game of football would disagree with that, because it's impossible. Players that played with under Andy's regime back in Philly said the exact same thing. So I don't know. It's crazy. I'm not upset that we didn't grab a wide receiver in the first round. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I feel like we have a good core. So.
I will say this, JP, and you in your debate with that guy, you bring up a great point. I mean, Veach got position of need.
Mm-hmm.
Veach changed the game. We're having big, tall receivers going against corners who it seems it looks like they're going to struggle. Now, it will be interesting to see what's going to happen. But what you're saying is that Veach is always changing something.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs were too predictable. And JP, you were right 100%. It was either going to go to Kelsey or it's going to go to Hill. You were right about that. They got predictable at times. And because of that, caused them to suffer.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the end of the day, look, players like Jahan Dotson that I wanted, I was surprised he really went in the first round. But I mean, there's still some good wide receivers available in the second round, and even the third. I wouldn't be surprised if George Pickens comes off pretty quickly, a Christian Watson, or any of these other guys. I mean, there's a really lot of good guys available for the Chiefs to get wide receiver wise. And Keaton, and since we're already here, we might as well just say this, man. But Justin Ross, he could be the day 3 pick at receiver.
And Justin Ross, and it could be Jalen Tolbert, John Mechie. There's so many guys out there that are still available for the Chiefs to get in later rounds. And I know people are mad. Maybe we didn't get a wide receiver, but I would take the 2 guys we got tonight over Jamison Williams any day of the week, or any of the wide receivers in that draft. We would have had to give up both first rounders. I don't like the value that the Lions had to get up to move so far up in the draft. I think they gave up too much to get a guy who is coming off an ACL tear, and the Chiefs needed defensive starters. Let's be honest. If we
Yeah.
were to season with the defense we had,
We'd have been screwed.
we were going to be screwed. And
Yeah.
we Edge more than anything else. I was going to be mad if we didn't get Edge coming out of the first round. I think we addressed it really well. Both of those players we got tonight will be day one starters. McDuffie will probably start in the slot where Snead was last year. I see a lot of defensive guys tweeting out that Snead may bounce out to the outside, which would give us a star player in the outside, which was something we've needed for a long time. And I think he's ready to take that next step for our defense. And then I think Karlaftis really will nail down either the right or left side of that line and will help us, because now we're looking at the line with Karlaftis, Chris Jones. We got that guy from the Colts. I forget his name because I really didn't remember it. But we also have Frank Clark, who, if he wants to get paid next season, he's going to have to put up a year of good production to be able to extend his career. So you were looking at guys that have something to prove and are going to give their best to play the best defensive football we've seen out of the Chiefs defense. And I'll go out on a leap here, and I'll say that we'll have a at least top 20 defense next season with the guys we just got.
Well, I will second you on that one. I think that our defense will be probably top 15, if not better, because we have, and I want Caleb's opinion on this as well, but when you consider the fact that we've got guys that were rookies and then second year players that were just phenomenal players, and then you just add to that are also going to be day one starters. You've got Snead, that's, a very viable player. You've got Chris Jones with some help is going to be a very viable player again. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay. Then you added just so much help in just two players on that defense. It's going to make, in my opinion, it's going to make a huge difference. What do you think, Caleb?
I agree with you. I mean, you got a corner who can replace Ward, who can play the inside now, move Snead to the outside, like Keaton was saying, and you're adding a guy on the edge that can get to the quarterback and causes havoc everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
I mean, you need these type of guys if you want to be successful. And I don't think the Chiefs are done drafting on the defensive line. I think they're going to take a defensive tackle too. I think they really are, in order to help bolster that, because if they can do that, it's going to help everyone. Chris Jones might get his first playoff sack. Karlaftis might be able to do a lot of different things, but I think this ultimately, if they can get another good defensive tackle, it's ultimately going to help Frank Clark in his production.
You're absolutely right.
100% agree.
I think they're going to address that early in the second round with some of the guys that we've mentioned before, such as the Perion Winfrey pick. I think it was interesting. The Brett Veach press conference after the round one just came out. It came out that the Chiefs actually had offers for their number 30 overall pick to move back in the second round. And Brett Veach said, and I quote, he didn't want to get too cute and pick the best player available, which is something we haven't seen out of Brett Veach in a lot of these years, where there's a player and we're like, pick him. We need to pick him. And, sometimes Brett Veach will make a better pick than what a lot of fans know, obviously, because he's more knowledgeable on that than we are. But this year, I just felt like he didn't get cute at all. He stood put. He did trade up to number 21 to get probably the number 3 corner in this draft class. But other than that, he stayed put and was able to draft a guy that many thought would be a top 15 pick and got probably the best value out of any team in this draft. I mean, we saw teams move up a ton of picks to get guys that were projected to be the same or in that area, but I don't think any team got better value than the Chiefs, other than maybe the Jets, who also had a great draft.
They did have a great draft. There was one other team that was really kind of killing it. And it was weird. Was Detroit. They were kind of killing it in the draft. They did really well. I can't complain about what they've done. I just don't feel it was great as far as how they're going to be utilized, but they did a really good job. The Jets did a really good job in the draft. But I think I don't know that anybody got more value for position of need than we did. Some of those guys picked up players. It seemed to be they picked up some players just to keep them from getting anywhere else, and that those players may end up, not being on those teams by the end of preseason, or maybe even, maybe even earlier. So it's weird that it was just a weird draft. I mean, I can't get over it. I'm going to say that over and over. It was just a very strange draft. And I think a lot of it was more competitive stuff from GM to GM, head coach to head coach versus position of need with every other team besides us, really. And the Jets, they picked up positions of need. You know what I'm saying, Caleb? I mean,
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I think kind of what we're seeing there with Salah, he's doing it. He's helping turn that team around. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to work, but I think some of those trades we saw, and AJ Brown's on another team. He's with the Eagles. Now we're seeing guys like Hollywood Brown now with the Cardinals. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how these picks are going to work out for him. But
Yeah.
my question to you guys is, what day two players you think the Chiefs could possibly get? Keaton, real quick before we start, how many draft picks they have? I know they have the 2 seconds. Do they have a third as well?
We do have a third left. We had 2/3 coming into the night, and we had 2/4, and we traded one of each. So we have 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth remaining, as well as the 4 seventh round picks where we haven't used them yet, but we can see that come into play tomorrow, where we can trade up in the second round and package many of those 7th round picks in order to move up. And if I'm going to answer your question, who I'd like to see the Chiefs grab in the second round, if we're thinking receiver, which I think that would be the number one position of need now that the Chiefs have addressed corner and defensive end. To me, I've said it before, and I'm going to stick with the pick that I really like John Mechie out of Alabama. I think he's a speedy receiver who could take the snaps that Tyreek Hill played last year and be utilized in the same ways and not miss as many or skip a beat from what Tyreek Hill did. Yeah, he's not going to have the same production, but he is a younger player who's one of the best route runners in this draft class, who has great speed, and he's falling on a lot of draft boards because of only one thing, and that's the fact that he's coming off an injury. We can afford to wait a little bit into the season to play him, which is why I think that would be a great pick and another amazing value pick for the Chiefs. And I hope we get him, or I also like a couple other players. There's David Ajabo, which we don't know how far he's going to fall due to his injury. We could see him at 50. We could see Christian Watson. I think another guy that we haven't talked about yet is Boye Mafe. We had him going in the first round to the Chiefs. We had no idea that Karlaftis would be there, or else we would probably have picked him over Mafe, because I do think he is a better talent. Obviously he is, because he won in the first round, but I think Mafe could be there if he's not picked early in the second round. And I think if this draft's taught me is that anything can happen, and the best players can be available no matter where you're picking.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you think,
do
JP?
too. I mean, I think that, I think they're probably going to go, let me look at the board again, because I want to get my names correct. If I had to say, I think they're probably going to go wide receiver tomorrow. I do think they're probably going to go wide receiver tomorrow. I agree with Keaton. I like, if they do go wide receiver tomorrow, there was one, and I got to find him.
Guy Moore's still there. I forgot to mention him.
Moore. That's who I was thinking of. I like him. I think he would be a good fit. Also, there was one other one that I really liked, and I don't know if he's on our board or not right now. But
Pickens there, Watson's there,
Pickens I like. I don't know. I mean, I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, but I like him. There was one other guy, and I can't think of his name right now, that you guys sent me, and I watched his film, and then I watched more film on him afterwards, and he just dynamically fast. And
is it Chris Olave?
Chris Olave.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember I got pissed when he did go.
He went early.
Yeah, he went early. I thought he would have been phenomenal. But I do think we're going to go wide receiver. And again, why waste a pick in the first round on somebody you're not going to use right off the bat, or is not going to make an immediate impact? That's just really kind of how you have to look at it. I mean, we do different things than we do it differently than every other team. Most teams go full bore rebuild. We do it in baby steps, and we just build upon what we have. And that's what keeps us competitive. And plus, given the fact that we are doing, a transition from our predictability and what we've done to get us where we were for those, 4 years, to now almost flipping the script on offense. We have the quarterback that's able to control that and run with it and excel with it. And I think that just, it speaks volumes to Veach's ability to be able to draft, but also understand his players enough, and the players understand enough to be able to, okay, we're going to completely change everything up, but you guys are still going to succeed because we're bringing in players that you can make better. That guy that was arguing about Juju. I mean, okay, Juju may have not, he was in a system that he went from having, and one thing that he didn't understand, I think, and that was what was annoying me, is that he kept saying how great Tyreek was Nicole Hardman was in 19. What he didn't understand is that we had a spread offense with Sammy Watkins that was that deep threat, that other threat that was able to open McColl up. We didn't have that in 20, and that changed his game. In 21, we really didn't have that, and it changed his game, but they finally found his niche that would work for him. Now that we have very large wide receivers, and then also guys that are coming back, guys that are sitting on our practice squad, and maybe bring one more in that's a veteran, or draft a wide receiver if this veteran deal doesn't work out. And I just screwed up again and said it, but there was a wide receiver that's they're considering that's not in the draft. If that ends up happening, it's going to open it up even more, not just for McColl, but for everybody else that needs to learn this offense and be able to thrive in it. So it just gives everybody an opportunity to eat. We gave up one player. Okay. Yes, we gave up a great player, but he accounted for 23% of Mahomes' plays during I think it was last season. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been through the last 4 seasons. It was 26%, 23% last season. So out of Pringle, Hardman, Kelsey, Jody Fortson when he was in, and then the other fill-ins that came in, Tyreek was 23% of D-Rob. He was 23% of Mahomes' offensive snaps, or I guess I should say his completions. So we didn't give up. It's not like we gave up 75%. We gave up 23%. And we gained more than that when you consider the players that we brought in and who we can potentially bring back or elevate in a Josh Gordon, an Omar Bayless, a Cornell Powell. We have a lot of players that have learned our playbook. Wide receivers coming out of this draft are future players. They're not day one players. That's what Veach is looking for. He's filling positions of need to continue to build upon what we've already done. And I guarantee you, it's crazy as it can be, it sounds, we were ranked top 3 to go to the Super Bowl before we traded Tyreek, and we're ranked top 3 to go to the Super Bowl after we traded Tyreek. So that tells you the validity of how strong our team is. It tells you how everybody has fear in what we have. If you can get rid of a player like Tyreek Hill and then still be a top 3 contender for the Super Bowl, why is everybody worried?
That's a great point, JP.
So I don't know. I mean, that's just my opinion. But
yeah, I do think receiver is an important position now, but I think you nailed it on the head. And I think that we have enough this year to push us past other teams. And I know we're maybe losing out on some of the playmaking ability of Tyreek Hill, but I think Juju's game is underrated. And I don't think you're going to find another deal out there for the next 10 years where a former wide receiver who's only a couple years off removed and still young from having a 1,400-yard season, you were able to sign him for $3 million, which was such a good signing by the Chiefs. Yeah. Who's going to play slot? He's going to play that very well for us this year. And he also got Martis, Valdez, Cantley, who was possibly the best third option on the team or on any team last year. He was a big play waiting to happen. He's a great deep route runner. And a lot of people forget that we have Nicole Hardman, who took a big jump last year. I don't know if anyone watched that Bengals game.
He had a great jump. Yeah.
I was there. I was there, and Nicole Hardman put on a show. There was a pass he caught deep that I really hadn't seen him do that before. I hadn't seen him run a route that got him open deep, and he was able to make an over the shoulder grab. But he did it in that game, and I think this year is going to prove that he maybe has just been sitting behind Tyreek Hill a little bit in the terms of the routes he's able to run
Well,
with
yeah,
Tyreek.
exactly. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I agree with you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. When you're sitting, and he mentioned it himself, and Caleb, you know this, bro. I
Mhm.
mean, how many times have we said this over the last, 2 seasons, that we cannot pick up a wide receiver that we want because they know that they're not going to be utilized as much because of Tyreek Hill, because of Travis Kelce. Now you have the opportunity to utilize these players. And when people saw Tyreek walk out the door, that gives us an opportunity to bring players in. And it also motivates the players like a Juju, a McCole, especially a McCole, that
Exactly.
he is going to be that guy because he's extremely quick. He's learned the playbook. He's really, when you really think about it right now, he's still our number one wide receiver because he knows the playbook out of everybody else. He knows it better than everybody because he's been there for 3 years. So it's just elevating everybody else's game. And I can almost say with certainty that Mahomes may have another 50-yard season coming up with who we've got right now on the field. If we didn't
Thinking of
sign
50
another,
TDs.
I think he can. 50 TDs. I'm sorry, and if I think he could put up another 50 with if we didn't sign another wide receiver right now and say Gordon does what you and I both or all of us kind of believe he can do, and that is elevate his game with the time that he needed. And then you bring in Cornell Powell that has spent a year off learning the playbook, practicing, learning the playbook, practicing. He says he's ready. If he is ready like he says he is, and then you have an Omar Bayless that's sitting there going, damn, I'm damn good. Everybody knows I'm damn good. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove myself. You can easily see Mahomes, and then you got Jody coming back, and you still got Kelce. You can see him putting up 50 touchdowns this year. I can see it. I don't know about you guys, but I can see it. What's your opinion on that?
You want to take that one, Caleb, or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I agree. I think that there are some guys in the waiting that could definitely take a step forward. Back to your point where you said that, with the lack of knowing who's going to get the ball, or maybe the lack of having a big play guys who are going to command a lot of targets, I think that gives a lot of players who may have yet to be traded. We saw AJ Brown go today. Maybe their outlook changes on going to Kansas City now that they know that their target has increased dramatically, especially now that the Chiefs haven't taken wide receiver in round one. They know if they go in there right now, they're going to get 1,000 yards. If it's a high tier player, such as a Terry McLaurin, I know we said Debo, it's probably not going to happen. He'll probably play this year with the 49ers. But I'm really thinking at this point, if we were able to get Terry, we just saw that the Commanders just got a wide receiver. I wonder if that's not to replace.
So
It might be just in case.
That's when I saw them draft him. From everything that I had heard in the past, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that's I agree with you on that one. I can see that being a viable thing, and we have the opportunity to move forward if we needed to, or wanted to, I guess I should say. We have a couple more positions we got to fill that are day one needs. I don't know that it's we don't need a day one. I don't think we're going to get a day one immediate impact wide receiver in this offense. I think we're going to get one that is going to be able to contribute and help and be a good rotational piece. And I think he's going to play a lot of special teams. as we.
No, JP, that's the word I don't want to hear.
Well, you know it happens, dude. So that's
I
why
know,
I'm saying
unfortunately.
it. I mean, it
Were you
happens. Huh?
Were you talking about McDuffie?
No, I'm just talking about wide receivers. As far
Oh,
as
okay.
if we pick up another, a rookie wide receiver or a
Yeah.
draft pick wide receiver, we know that, they may be able to contribute to some degree as far as a wide receiver is concerned, but you're going to see them more playing special teams and learning the playbook, learning the system, learning everything that needs to be learned before you're able to get out there and play full time. And I think, as we've talked about in the past, as a group, we all kind of come to the conclusion that we could be that contending team again right now with what we have, even if we didn't sign another wide receiver. We just have to fill some holes. We got maybe 4 holes to fill still, and I guarantee you, Veach is going to fill those with day one starters, mainly on defense. We've covered the running back situation. We've covered almost every aspect of wide receiver. We've got an O-line that's completely stacked. We're starting to fill up that D-line. We get somebody next to Chris Jones that can help him out and bring him to his level that was prior. And what his ranking demand, is really dictating. And then I wouldn't mind, and I still want to believe that it's an option that Tyrann Mathieu comes back. And I really wouldn't mind if Melvin Ingram came back. We need that veteran leadership.
And I think that defense line is going to be scary if they can draft a good defensive tackle to have alongside Chris Jones, and then also to bring back Melvin Ingram. I think you're in a good position.
Exactly my thoughts. And I came into this draft thinking, what if we brought a Tyrann Mathieu back, and what if we drafted 2 corners? We'd have one of the best secondaries in the league, in with one of the worst. But now I'm thinking, well, what if we were able to build up this O-line or D line, which in my opinion is the second most important position in football, defensive end, and defensive tackle. Behind quarterback, you got to build up a D line, because if you're not getting to other quarterbacks, we saw it last year where guys would just sit back there all day and they wouldn't get touched all game. And I think that was the most frustrating part of being a Chiefs fan last year, seeing Mahomes constantly dealing with the pressure, and he's going to next year as well. But constantly dealing with the pressure, then watching other quarterbacks sit back there in the pocket and have tons of time for let plays develop, which makes our corners look worse. And I'll tell you, I think with a better D line, that makes our defensive backs better.
Well, it does. Absolutely, Keaton, and we've talked about this so many times, bro. Nobody really takes into consideration that when your D line breaks down, your linebackers have to jump off their assignments to cover what the D line didn't cover, and then when that happens, then your secondary has to jump off their assignments to cover what the linebackers are trying to, that they couldn't cover. So it just throws the whole defense off. So it starts with the defensive line and it works itself backwards. It's a domino effect. So
you're absolutely right. And I think, to continue off of that point, if you were to bring in Melvin Ingram, who I think last time we talked, we said it on the podcast that he was only asking for maybe $2.5 to $5 million. I think that's a steal. And he may be getting older and he may be a higher risk for injury, but the risk reward there is just so high. I mean, we have cap space to do it. We did take 2 first-round picks today, and we also traded a few, which kind of depends on where we sit on the cap after the draft. But I think we'll sit anywhere from 8 to 10 million. I think I said yes. Or actually, it'll be more than that. I think we'll have around 10 to 11 million dollars in cap space after this draft, and I think that Veach is going to make either a big move if we don't get the wide receiver we want. If we were able to draft someone in the second round, I believe that would change, the mindset, maybe the things that Veach is wanting to do there. But I think if we were able to get a defensive tackle or some depth piece at defensive end again in the draft, and then bring back Melvin Ingram, I think you're done at defensive line. I'd be happy rolling with that defensive line and end of the season. I'd be confident with that. And then as for corners, I think we're going to see the Chiefs take a couple more corners before the end of the draft, because that's something that Veach has wanted to do. And I want to say something real quick. It was a very un-Brett Veach thing to trade up and get a corner. And I know I said that, but I I actually thought this might happen because he said in his press conference before the draft that a lot of times it was more circumstantial than it was, just not valuing the corner position. Because we saw today that, maybe the Chiefs wanted to get a wide receiver, but due to circumstances, they couldn't because they would have had to give up too much. And staying put, they were able to get more value. They had a better draft. I think everywhere is rating the Chiefs draft as one of the best in the league.
So I saw a thing from Bleacher Report. They gave the McDuffie pick a B, and they gave the the other pick, they gave him an A.
I think everyone gave the Karlaftis trade an A. I don't know why you would. He was projected 20 or top 20, but I think the McDuffie pick, he was a projected 20 top 20 pick too. I think the reason people were hating on that pick is they do a little bit of internet research and see he only had 2 picks this year, and they just don't like it. But you have to remember, this is probably a guy that quarterbacks just weren't throwing to. I mean, we saw that he only gave up 111 yards all season. Doesn't mean he's not a good player because
no, that could absolutely mean he's a great player. I mean, when you really think about it, could mean he's an absolute stud. So
you're absolutely right, and I think that bringing him in, he'll be the slot corner. I think he'll fill that role very well. And then bouncing out Snead to the outside, who's just an absolute superstar, and I think he has a chance to elevate his game moving to the outside. He's a little bit bigger than McDuffie, and I know that McDuffie has played outside in his career, and he's played it well. I read a little bit about him after the draft. He excels in zone coverage. He didn't play a lot of man, and he was also hardly ever in press man because he has shorter arms, which is why he was slot corner mostly, and that is what he projects to be in the NFL as well. But he has played outside, and he's played well when he's played outside. So this is a guy who not only could play corner and outside corner, he also said he can play safeties, and he said he would love to play special teams as well, which is why I'm excited for this guy, because he sounds like a guy who just wants to come in and do whatever the coaches are asking him to do.
Yeah, I think he played some safety.
I believe you're right. I think I also.
Yeah, I want to say he played some safety, not just in high school, but I think he also played in college a little bit of safety as well. And yeah, he does have some shorter arms, and that's, in a safety position, that's actually not so bad. If he can play, if he can step in a rotational piece as a safety, that would, especially a rover or a spy, that wouldn't be so bad. Or even, just even in center field out there. I mean, you could do so much with this kid because he's versatile. So I'm glad that Booth is still out there. I would love to see them actually bring him in, because this would be one of the, I remember, Caleb, you could tell me, I don't remember we did it 2 years in a row. We ran with 4 corners total on our team.
4 corners, yep.
And
it's a Super Bowl year.
Yeah, it was a Super Bowl year. And that was in my opinion, it was stressful, because when you only got 4 corners, there's no depth there. And God forbid, one of them goes down, then you're really kind of screwed. We didn't have a 3 safety set at that time. Well, actually we did. We did have a 3 safety set, I think, because we did have Thornhill. We had Tyron, and we had what's his face there?
Breezy?
We had Breezy, and then we also had
Ward.
We had Ward, and we still had Sorensen. That wasn't. He did have a good year that year, so we could play a 3 safety set if we needed to, with running with 4 corners. But I would rather have 6 to 8 sitting in the waiting, and we still got Josh Jackson on our team. People are forgetting that we still have him, and I think he could be a very good, viable player for us and a great rotational piece given the opportunity. And that's why they kept him. That's why they elevated him. And that's why they brought him back and put him back on the practice squad, because they want to elevate him again. So it's just that timing and the time that it takes to develop and learn our schemes, learn our packages. Spags, and that's another thing. We're not a 3-scheme defense. We have a ton of schemes. We have a lot of packages, and that's a lot to learn as well. So we're a complex team, but complex teams make it past the first round of the playoffs.
That real quick. This is this is straight from Andy Reid. He says he likes Trent McDuffie strictly as an outside cornerback and maybe not as a back as we thought. I thought that L'Jarius Sneed would maybe bounce to the outside, but the quote was the quote exactly came from Herbie Teope, who said that the Chiefs coach Andy Reid on if Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis are able to come in and contribute immediately. He said, absolutely, these are first round picks. And then he also said that what I just said, that Andy Reid says the team likes Trent McDuffie, especially as an outside cornerback, which is surprising to me because from what I've seen, that the Chiefs really like guys who can press into guys. Maybe they've seen something on tape that they like there. But I like what I've seen from him on tape, and I think he's an exceptional run defender as a cornerback, which is something we haven't really had, a corner that can make tackles in the run game as well. I think that could really help the team, especially if he plays outside, because he'd be able to fill the lanes and make great tackles on pitch plays and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see though how he plays as an outside corner, because I don't think we've seen him play that a lot, but they must have seen enough in college to be confident in that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
And again, and if he doesn't, the one thing about it, if he doesn't work so well at the outside, Andy's going to pull him in the slot. And what I saw of his film, he's not afraid to tackle in any way. And really what we've got right now, is Sneed was not ever afraid to tackle. Breezy was never afraid to tackle when he was here. But right now, really what we have is we've got Breezy Sneed that is like the guy that will just go up and lay the hammer down on you. Ward would tackle. He just tackled in a different way. He didn't really just, he wouldn't pile drive you. He would just grab you and throw you on the ground. Or, he had good control of the way he tackled. So, going backwards prior to that, we didn't have corners that could tackle, and they didn't want to. I mean, even Marcus Peters didn't want to tackle. So we're evolving, and we're evolving into that, that smash mouth style defense in every position. And another thing with McDuffie is that I could really see him coming off of like a cornerback blitz and doing very well because he's got exceptional speed.
He compares himself to Tyrann Mathieu, so I think you're
absolutely. That's good.
Yeah. So I could see him doing that, coming off that corner blitz and just with his speed being able to make a huge impact in that position. So
I agree with you there.
So, but yeah, man, phenomenal. I think it was a phenomenal A+ draft for us. I think we did the right thing. Veach, of course, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. I don't know about you guys, but I think he did a great job. And it just makes it more exciting for tomorrow and the next day because we have so much more to do. And the sky's the limit for us right now. I mean, when you really think about it, the sky's the limit for us right now. We didn't give up a whole lot, and we still have a whole lot to give. I mean, when you really think about it. So, with that, I don't know. You guys got anything else? I mean,
no, I think we pretty much covered everything, man. I know we're gonna have some more coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I will say something that's really funny is I think that it was funny how the Packers reacted to the wide receiver play today, and they literally didn't get a wide receiver, which I know a lot of people had them doubling up, which was really surprising. So we may see them try to compete with us to get a few guys in the second round.
I got to tell you, I listened to a couple of guys, and I had a couple of texts. One of them was from Jim Caleb, and he said, "I don't know what the hell Green Bay is doing." And I didn't.
They're weird. They're weird.
That's
not, I don't
very
know what they're
weird
doing either.
I mean, and I didn't at first. It didn't dawn on me because I was doing the spaces and I got the text at the same time. And I sit back and I said, I just put a question mark. And he goes, "Not one wide receiver." And I went, "Yeah." I said, they don't really have a wide receiver other than Sammy. So yeah. I don't know what they're thinking right now.
Who may play 6 games if they're lucky.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if he gets 6-7 games, that's phenomenal for him, but it's not going to help. It's almost like it looks like they're trying to play this revenge game against Rodgers for everything he did over the last couple of years. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're saying, okay, well, you know what, we'll eat a year and we paid you all this money and we're going to make you work for it. And we're
Probably.
gonna, you know, it could very well be something of that. I mean, because they're, you know, it's proven that their GM, president, everybody's kind of vindictive. So, and they're very bullheaded. Who knows, man? Maybe that's what their plans are. I have no clue. But all I know is that as far as we're concerned, we're in great shape, and I think we're just going to continue to build on what we have. And I truly believe I think we can be right back where we were last year, but in a better position. The last thing I will say is somebody said they were a girl, and she always listens to our spaces. She comes on all the time, and she was pretty flipped out about not replacing Tyreek Hill. And as far as a Tyreek Hill, like there's another one out there, but and that's no slight on her, but there's not really another Tyreek Hill out there. But she was upset because we didn't grab, you know, a wide receiver in the first round to replace him. But I don't think she really, and I wanted to tell her this on the show because I know she listens to it. Just because we didn't pick one doesn't mean that we don't have the talent to continue to do what we're going to do. And I think with everything that we've done to this point right now is elevated us further than where we would have been if we kept Tyreek, simply because he didn't do much in the AFC Championship game. He didn't do anything in the Super Bowl the year prior, and he had a lot of drop passes. So that's because when we were predictable, two, he was having some struggles with injuries. And when you start to become predictable, then it's time to make some changes. And Veach did it at the exact right time. He made those changes to throw every other team off when they decided to go out and build up a team of small guys, speedy guys that were going to try and keep up with Tyreek. And now we have guys that are 6 inches taller, 4 inches taller, another 80 or 40 pounds on him. And it's just going to elevate us to another level and a different style of game that we have, but continue to keep us in that Super Bowl run. And that's where we're going to be for a long time to come. So I wouldn't worry about, I know you're upset. Everybody is, you know, my wife is even upset. She goes, it's really hard to see Tyreek go. He's like a staple, you know, with Kansas City. And she goes, it's so sad. And, you know, she was telling me that today. And I told her, I said, you know, I agree with you. And I love the guy. I said, but when you become predictable, then it's time to move on. And she goes, my wife is not like a huge football fan, I guess, or doesn't understand it as much. And she goes, what do you mean predictable? And I said, well, everybody knew what we were going to do. I said, we were either going to go to Tyreek or we were going to go to Kelsey. And when you become predictable and then you have those issues that we had with drop balls and injuries and things of that nature, it's just time to flip the script. And it's not like any other business. You know, if you start to become stagnant, you elevate your game to where you're not stagnant anymore. And that's what we've done. And we're just going to continue to do that. So I think everybody should stop worrying about it so much because Veach hasn't let us down yet. So
yeah, I think if you came away with any opinion after this draft, other than it was a great draft, you're crazy, because I don't think you could have gotten better value with the picks that we had at better positions that we needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would I like to have Booth? Well, yeah. But I think actually, I kind of think McDuffie may, I don't know about you guys, but maybe a little bit more of a.
He was the safest pick in the whole draft. They said
really
that he has the best fundamentals out of any of the corners that we've seen, and he was the safest guy. We'll just have to see if he has great ball tracking and great instincts. We'll see if he's able to make some bigger plays at the next level with more balls coming his way. Yeah,
because the next level is always faster. There's more, you know, there's more involved, and he's coming to a team that is not easy to learn. So I think he has a high football IQ, and I think he's got, you know, some big shoes to fill, but I think he'll do it. So with that being said, we can wrap this one up for tonight. Everybody, we are going to do another Spaces tomorrow with the draft, and we will be on all night long on Spaces. So everybody join in, and we're going to do it again on Saturday. It's just going to be a good time. This is more exciting now than it was today. I was extremely hyped for today, and now I'm more hyped for tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really hyped for
Ready
tomorrow.
for it.
I'm pissed. I got to work.
Oh, it sucks,
I
dude.
don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it, but I'll be definitely on my phone whenever they make their pick.
I hear you, bro. But well, we'll keep texting you and let you know what's going on. And if you want to listen to the spaces while you're on your phone, you'll be able to at least
I
hear
can
what's
do
going
that.
on. Yeah.
I'll have an
And-
earbud in.
There you go then. And you can butt in when nobody's around. So yeah, just get ready for us tomorrow and we will talk to you then. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
Next time, guys.
See ya. Peace out.